Hi out there, it's me, Brianna, and you're listening to Are We Caught Up Yet? Marvel Edition. Today I am joined by my friend and co-host Sam, as always. You can find
Greetings.
us. You can find us on youtube.com/SayTheGameMedia and podcast services. If you want to show us some extra love and get early access to all of our content, you can find us patreon.com/SayTheGameMedia for extra love, and YouTube just for regular phone stuff. We just recently recorded all three of the No Limits Crew top 25 games of all time. The one that we recorded for my top 25 probably airs around the same time that this goes live. So look out for that on Patreon. And Sam and Taylor should already be up on Patreon. So definitely go check that out. One of the lists was fantastic. The other two were terrible. I'll let you guess which was which. One of the lists had a lot of Total War on there. Name any names.
I'll have you know, there was one Total War game on there.
They were the same kind of thing.
No, no, no.
Oh.
I will not take slander against Spartan Total Warrior. It is a completely different kind of game.
That looks the same?
No, it does not.
Oh my god. Okay. Well, before we get started on Ant-Man and the Wasp, how are you and what have you been watching?
Am I was waiting for my cue. You know, it's almost like a ventriloquist act at this point.
Yeah.
I could just mouth the words and you know what I was going to say.
Yeah. I mean, why don't you pretend that you're not busy? Like, let's just cosplay as like a not busy person for a second.
Okay.
What are you up to?
So I've had so much free time that I've done nothing with it except work, and
You're terrible at this.
alongside all of that free time where I'm working, I have intentionally and purposefully not watched anything.
Yeah, I was kind of more looking for you to just like lie about what you're doing, but that works too.
Yeah.
I was hoping for like I've platinumed so many games and I've been watching so many shows.
Yeah, I mean, well, technically, you like, how am I doing? That doesn't really rope the gaming stuff side into it, which is that, you know, that doesn't matter.
Well, I did say how are you and what have you been watching? Which normally
Yes,
when we talk about what have you been playing and No Limits, we also talk about what we've been watching. So
I, well, I suppose. I mean, I don't necessarily, you know, I don't like to cross the wires too much. As they say in
you're also never
Ghostbusters, you don't
watching
cross the
anything.
streams. I mean, that too. That is a fair point. Hence why I don't speak about what I've been watching. Um, yeah, you know, there's stuff I will be watching soon-ish.
Are you
Like,
actually gonna watch shows this next week?
well, there's the second season of What If is coming out from Marvel, so I'll be, you know, nice little animated series. I'll be watching that.
Percy Jackson's coming out in 2 days.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
slander Percy Jackson. If you're not gonna watch it, that's fine, but don't slander it.
Hey, I love those books. I have every single one of them, and
Including the new ones
thought
that have been coming
the,
out.
I thought the films were okay. There, I said it. But
Wow, we have a film apologist over here.
yeah, I'm just not. I'm not. Apart from where they danced to Lady Gaga whilst they were at Las Vegas, that was a bit weird. Actually, no, that was just why. This is how fried my brain is. I was going to say I was about to say, it almost escaped my lips. I was about to say Mr. Tumnus. And I was like, why am I saying Mr. Tumnus? It's Grover. But it's because they're both fawns, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that's but I was about to say Mr. Tumnus, but that's Narnia.
Would you believe that I haven't finished this book series either? I think I read 3 or 4 of them out of like the 5 of the main.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. But no, here's the thing. I probably will check out that series if I hear good things. You know, if I don't hear good things, I will
Yeah.
probably not, because I love the IP, I guess, or the franchise, or whatever you would call it,
Mm-hmm.
the source material. Let's put it that way. But I don't love it enough to slog through anything that has its name attached to it. So time will tell. Maybe that if it gets good reviews, that probably will be something I watch in my time off.
I think they're only releasing 2 episodes at first, so you won't have much to watch.
No, but if those 2 episodes get good reviews, then I'll probably be along for the
Can't
ride.
even commit to the 2 episodes.
I'll watch those 2, and
Yeah.
then if I agree that it's good, I can then carry on as the episodes release. What is it, weekly or something? I guess.
Probably. I don't
Yeah,
actually know.
one a year.
Maybe.
That's
Probably.
a bold strategy.
Yeah. It would kind of like if it was like really, really good TV, that might be like a interesting tactic. But
Yeah, just a super long episode of TV, which is basically just a film at that point.
yeah. But why would
But
you release a film when you could release a TV show?
who knows? Subscription services. That's
We are in our fantasy era in TV, or at least we're starting to be, and I'm enjoying it. We've got Wheel of Time, we've got Percy Jackson, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Not saying that it's going to be good or bad, but Netflix is doing something. We have an Aragon TV series coming out, which I love Aragon. So I'm hopeful. We also have God of War TV show coming out, Horizon TV show coming out, which is a little bit more
yeah.
sci-fi-y, but still kind of fantasy elements.
I mean, not really.
Eh. They've got
God
bows.
of War, but Horizon, not
No, they
really.
have bows. I'm gonna count it.
That is not a prerequisite for something being fantasy, I'm afraid.
When but I've said that it's fantasy, so now it is. I'm just
Okay.
kidding. Sorry, my water bottle's driving me crazy. It was blocking my new Lord of the Rings books that took a year to get here that are beautiful. Very expensive too.
I can imagine.
I can't remember how much they were even. I know it was over 200. That's all I got.
Jesus.
That's all I got. So, anyways, you guys, have I been watching anything? I don't think
Hypocrite.
so. I've been watching anime, but Sam, like, literally you can see the light leave his eyes every time I talk about it. So I won't. Nothing.
You can talk about it.
No, I know, but I don't really have anything new either.
No.
I've
Okay.
just been watching like there's nothing that's like so exciting that like I would let the light leave your eyes over just like a couple episodes of anime. I will say I've been contemplating rewatching A Lull in the Sea. See? Or the Japanese name is Nagi no Sukara. I've watched it twice all the way through already, and it's definitely in my list of like favorite anime of all time. So I've been thinking about watching that again because I kind of want to watch romance, and that one it has an incredible soundtrack, incredible art, all of that, and the story is so good. So I'm like, maybe I'll rewatch it again, but I haven't committed just yet. So
Okay.
could I watch a bunch of like all of the new stuff that I haven't seen yet? Yeah. What else is there besides free run? You know,
Nothing. Just
I
nothing.
changed both my TV or both my monitor backgrounds to free run, and my phone is also free run.
You're fully committed.
It's so good, Sam. You don't understand. It's so good. You should just watch. I'll give you my Crunchyroll login, and you can just watch like the first like 1 or 2 episodes, and you'll be like, "Oh my god, you were so right, Brianna."
Yeah, maybe.
You won't commit to literally anything, so. Or the other thing is, okay, one doesn't commit to anything because he's busy. Two, two, he doesn't take any of my recommendations, so that was a double whammy right there. That was my bad, you guys. That's funny. Okay. Now that I'm going to okay, so Two Idiot Girls, for those who know the podcast, love that podcast. Love Drew Afawalo. Um, love that podcast. Anyways, they all when they talk on their podcast and they're like talking at the beginning, they call it their zoomies. So I like that. So now that we're done with our zoomies, it really does feel like zoomies for me because sometimes I just have to go off on rants. Like yesterday, we talked about the book talk drama and book Twitter drama.
Yeah.
Which can you imagine ruining your career when you like were already set to sell a bunch of coffees? It's like so cringy. Like it physically makes me like, cringe.
Not great.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp. Did this pass the Bechdel test? I don't think so. Just want to open with that. By the way, did you know that Infinity War barely passes the Bechdel test? Like, it's like literally I Googled it and it was like, it barely passes the test.
Good on it.
And I was like, well, I guess it passed.
Good on it.
It got like a C.
It's a pass.
Yeah. I have nothing to say about the soundtrack for this movie.
Okay.
Like I can't even think of like a single like song or sound that was in this.
Mm.
Do you have anything to say about the soundtrack?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not really.
Well, that gives 2 main categories out of the way already.
Yeah.
And now we can give our general thoughts.
I will say, in terms of music, the one thing that I do like is like the main Ant-Man theme is used in some funny ways in the film.
Didn't even notice it, to be honest, in case that wasn't obvious.
We can talk about it when we get there.
Okay.
I'll raise it to make sure.
Okay. Sounds good. What are your general thoughts for this movie? You won't even go first on this movie? Why? As soon as we get to new stuff, you're going first every time.
Sure.
Okay. Good deal. Okay. General thoughts. This movie was like solidly good. Like, it didn't have as much of like there were moments that kind of like peeked through, but it didn't have like the heart and soul that the first one had. We only got one of those story times, and it was a good story time with the truth serum, but it wasn't the same. I don't know, like I was just missing a lot of those like comedy beats. Not to say that there weren't funny moments, because there were definitely very funny moments. And there was a lot of really fun things, like him pretending to be the wife. Like obviously I know, like in the movie world he was really being the wife, but in like the real world, like him acting like the lady it was really funny to me. Or like how the stepdad keeps like hugging everybody. And then he's like, I need another hug. Stuff like that. Like, that does kind of give it like the Ant-Man charm that kind of came through in the first film. But I feel like those moments were few and far between. And there were just like a lot of, it just was like a lot of mediocre moments for me. So,
yeah.
the best way I could put this is like a good 6 out of 10. How do you feel about this film?
It's my favorite one of the no. Yeah, I think that's a pretty apt description, to be honest. Like a 6 out of 10. I think it's weird because in this film, if you look at it like scene by scene, there are a lot of quite unique, interesting, or entertaining things that it does.
Mm-hmm.
But as an overall package, it just feels like, to me at least, probably one of the most forgettable films of the bunch.
Yeah.
Which is weird because they use his powers and Wasp's powers in very interesting ways. There's some cool set pieces. Actually quite a lot of ant death, all those seagulls
I
eating them up.
know. That was really messed up. I was pretty upset about that one.
Antonio Banderas, just rest in peace. There's like, again, I think like what you say, there's good moments in here, but it's outweighed by an overwhelming sea of like either mediocrity or milk toastness or both, and it just never really cohesively goes together. I think the film gets worse the more it goes on. I actually think there is an interesting idea presented at the beginning of this film, where he's under house arrest after Civil War, and he's, trying to look after Cassie and stuff, and you get like the balancing of his life and, him not being able to be Ant-Man anymore, so he sort of has to rock with the idea of, what does he do? Who is he? Kind of thing. But that very quickly gets put aside, and there's no real, like, it sounds funny to say it because of the nature of the villain, but there's no real like tangible threat at all ever. Like, I love Hannah John Carmen as an actor, but Ghost just is such a nothing character.
Which is so sad because the concept of the character is really interesting.
It's like dope. This like little girl who got caught in a scientific experiment gone wrong, and she's able to like phase shift and go invisible, and then got hired as like a secret agent assassin type thing. Like that's cool. And I think her actual like outfit, the costume, is cool as well. But I think talking about the past couple of films, whether it's Black Panther with Killmonger or Infinity War with Thanos, it's not doing Ghost any favors that her motivation is so weak and relatively undefined. Like, yes, she just wants to survive and not fade away, which is an interesting baseline. But when the crux of that motive is centered around a character that we haven't even met, we don't even know, which is Janet, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, she has to siphon the powers that Janet has accrued just by being in the quantum realm. She sucks them out and gets them in her, and then that will keep her whole. But like, the emotional connection that we have to Janet, if there is one at all, is incredibly vapid and hollow. It's like, okay, yeah, it's Hope's mom, and
the other
they
thing,
like cry about her a couple of times.
the other thing is that I never found it believable that that would actually work because they don't know, right? So I'm like, so you're gonna murder this lady's mom for no reason, like because
Yeah.
you don't actually know.
Yeah. And like on top of that, you then have, well, if you know that she has these abilities, why wouldn't you wait for her to come out and help you with them?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And even if she didn't know that Janet had these abilities or whatever, surely her knowledge of being in the quantum realm and you knowing that the stuff that you need is in the quantum realm, she is a much more valuable asset to you alive than dead.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of plot holes that you can kind of poke in it that way. And like I know that it's kind of like a B plot line of having, the FBI officer who is funny and entertaining. I like that comedian.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it feels so detached from everything else that's going on that it I kind of feel like I'm getting whiplash when I'm watching this film. It's like, oh, okay, no, we're back to this thing, and he's trying to do the card tricks and stuff. It's like it's just yeah, it just doesn't quite work. It's still fine. There's a lot of bits in this film that do make me laugh or that I think are compelling, but it
Mm-hmm.
never comes together.
Yeah. I think honestly, for me, the most important, or the most not important, the most interesting pieces of this film are actually just like the through line implications rather than the actual film itself.
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
so it's fine. We'll get through this discussion and then we can talk about like the through line stuff after. Um. Also, I don't like, to be very clear, never been interested in Hot Wheels or cars or anything like that, but I do kind of want like that car wheel thing because or like that house thing because can you imagine just like being able to set up your house wherever? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I liked that stuff. That's smart. Good use. Okay. What do we want to talk about here? Okay. I'm trying to think. I feel like there wasn't a ton of themes in this. I think that they kind of touched lightly on themes occasionally. Um, maybe we can go. I'm trying to decide like how I want to like tackle this. If we should just go like by the story, let's do that. Because I usually do like by character, but like I feel like none of the characters are especially compelling to like drive a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just like kind of go by this plot here. I'm just gonna go off of the Wikipedia. So Scott Lang's placed under house arrest due to his involvement with the Avengers, which okay, I have to be kind of honest, I was a little bothered by that particularly. Like I understand that like the law doesn't necessarily care about intention, but like he literally didn't know. Like do you know what I mean? Like it feels like he was just kind of thrown into this conflict because they were like, "Hey, do you mind helping?" And he's like, "Yeah, no problem." Like what are you going to do? Tell Captain America no? Like do you know what I mean?
Sure. But again, like you say, the law doesn't really matter. It's guilty by
Yeah.
association.
Yeah, it although I liked the story beat for the film, like it felt silly to me.
Mm.
Okay. So basically the issue is that he violated the Sokovia Accords, and then Hank Pym that name, I don't know what that name just kind of it does something weird to me. It makes me uncomfortable. I
Damn.
don't know why. And then we have Hope Van Dyne, which is Hank Pym's daughter. So they briefly managed to open a tunnel to the quantum realm, and they believe that Janet Van Dyne might be trapped there after shrinking to subatomic levels in 1987. When previously visiting the quantum realm, Lang had unknowingly become quantumly entangled with Janet, and now he receives an apparent message from her in his dreams. So we have that whole like beginning section where he's like in the house. They like do that little like heist with him and his daughter. Um, like they come to pick up the daughter from his house after like his foot ends up through the fence, which was that it really is how cops are. They like will take any and like any reason to be dramatic like that, but it's still annoying.
Hmm.
Um and we get like funny like hug moment. Um we get some really cute moments between like father daughter. I think those are probably the best moments of the film for me.
Yeah, I would say so as well. And I think that that is like really what the core of the Ant-Man films should be about, because that's when they're at their best.
Mhm.
And as much as like that's, it sounds uh, hypocritical because this film is a lot about family, but I just don't think they tackled it from quite the right angle that it came across to the audience in the same kind of. I think you said that it's not quite as like wholesome or something as the first film. Or is
I
that
didn't
what you
use
said?
that word, but that is a good word for it. Like it just doesn't
Yeah.
it's not as funny. It's not as like you don't have those like core moments. I don't know, like those beats that like worked for the first film. Like I think it would have been cheesy to do it again, but like they worked. So like why didn't we?
Yeah.
And again, there are some things that work, but I think that it's the things that are reminiscent of the first film.
Hmm.
Like, I'm still really upset that I didn't get any of those like rants besides the one. That's my favorite part of the films.
Yeah. Yeah. Missed opportunity.
Mhm. Okay. Let's see. Do you have anything else to say about that? Like being there's really I don't have much to say about this film, to be completely honest. So I'm just doing my
That's
best here.
the biggest indictment of the film. You know, as I say, it's ultimately very forgettable. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say on that opening section either.
Okay. So then with only a couple days left, Lang contacts Pym about Janet and is like, "Hey, I had a dream about your wife." And then they kidnap him and then they leave his ankle monitor on an ant,
Hmm.
which the daughter, not a narc.
Yeah.
Um, and then they believe that the message from Janet confirms that she's alive, so they're working on building a quantum tunnel so that they can take a vehicle into the quantum realm and retrieve her. Uh, they need to buy a piece for the tunnel from Sonny Birch, who's just a dude who's like
Who
never
is this person? Who is he? Like
nobody.
same as Hannah John Carmen. I love Walton Goggins. He is an excellent actor. But
Never
like,
heard this name. I can't believe his last name is Goggins.
yeah, who is this person?
I'm
Like,
convinced I've never seen any movies he's been in. Sorry, this is like now.
it's he's been in a lot. Um, but yeah, like I don't know, because they set him up to be like this black market type person, and that
Uh
he
huh.
has a client that wants the tech, right?
Mm-hmm.
So typically, how this would work is if it's not overtly revealed that he's actually working for the main villain of the film that he's in, which is how this would normally go, you would, in a Marvel film, you would then have one of like the post credit stings being, him on the phone saying, "Oh, sir or madam, they got away," and then you see who the boss is,
Yeah.
but we just don't get that. So just very strange choice.
I
It's like
yeah.
a character fulfilling a role more than I've ever seen. Role first, character second, which is bizarre.
Yeah. He was also never dangerous. He was just annoying.
Yeah, I didn't mind that as much, but I think that becomes more of a problem when, again, you don't get the context of who he's working for. Like, if he was a
Well,
competent threat on his own, that wouldn't be as much of an issue.
so I mean, the thing is he's incompetent, and you don't see who he's working for. But it's not just that he's like even if he is incompetent, like building some sort of tension, like is kind of like they needed something that was like building tension alongside Ghost, right? Because Ghost wasn't enough of a threat on her own.
Mm-hmm.
And so they needed like a secondary character or vice versa. Like either way, they're like either character villain in this movie isn't like enough of a threat on their own. So since we need like another character, like we actually need to have like some sort of tension building. Like and there
Yeah,
never is any. Except for at the very end when she finally gets in the building and nobody's around, then you're like, "Oh, look, tension."
yeah. What a waste of a good actor.
I'm gonna be honest, I looked through. The only thing I've seen is the 2018 Tomb Raider film.
He was in that.
And I don't remember him in that, but it was a good film, surprisingly.
Mm,
It wasn't terrible, which is a lot to
sure.
say for video game stuff
That
pre
that is fair. That
Last of
is fair.
Us. Okay. We see Hope as the Wasp fighting off Birch. Um then Ghost shows up and they fight and they go to find Bill Foster, which I like this actor. I can't
Yeah,
remember what I've seen him in, but I do like him.
he's been in an awful lot. I can assure you of that.
Yeah, I know I've seen him for sure. I've seen him in stuff, but like I can't remember off the top of my head like what I've seen him in.
Yeah.
It's probably like a CSI or something. But anyways, okay. So like it was okay. I feel like it was pretty obvious that he was a bad guy, right? Like am I like and he's not truly like a quote unquote bad guy, but it was like clear to me that he had like other motivations immediately. Maybe I'm just like distrusting. I was like, that was a little too easy. um
Um, I suppose I can understand. I never quite got that read. Um, I Yeah, I guess I only ever viewed it as via the context that they provided that he was like a former partner to Hank and they got bitter towards each other. So you can kind of extrapolate from that it would make sense that he would have ulterior motives or whatever. But yeah, I think they try to shine him in. He is just a helpful guy, like.
and I mean at the end of the day he is kind of just a helpful guy.
Yeah,
Cuz even when he was being like the evil guy, he like wasn't really that like evil.
yeah.
Which is fine. Like I'm not upset about that to be clear.
Hmm.
But yeah. Um okay. So then we have like a whole thing where everybody's trying to get the building. Nobody can get the building. They finally get the building. They finally get the building, but then there's a truth serum moment, which again was probably one of the best moments of the film. They should have had more. If there's not more in the next Ant-Man film, I'm going to be very upset. And then the FBI goes to get them. And then he goes back to the house, and then the FBI is like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here." And then we have another moment where it's like, who's gonna get the building? That's a really long time. It's like
It's all
10
about the
minutes.
building.
It's like 10 to 15 minutes of this every time. Um and then yep, so they figure it out. They send him to go to the quantum realm. They get the girl. uh there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on in between it, but honestly, like, not being in the movie, it doesn't feel very important. And yeah. Um Trying to think if there's anything especially important that I wanted to talk about. The most important moments for me aren't even the important moments, it's just the funny moments, like when he's like, "Wait, did you want to hang out?" Like, that was so awkward. I loved it. And then like that whole thing where he was like pretending to be like Janet, like, obviously again, he's not pretending to be Janet, he is Janet, but like the actor just, he did really good. And
Yeah.
I really did love that. And like the really awkward moments where he's like holding their face and like leaning and like the holding hands, and he's like, what's going on?" Like, that was really good acting, I think, and really funny. Um hmm like, there's just so many like moments that could have been so funny that just fell so flat. Like him going to the school and being like a kid size. Like, I feel like that could have been so much funnier.
It
But
was funny.
it was, but it wasn't like that funny.
And that was the point that I was talking about in terms of good use of the music, because they sort of play the Ant-Man theme, but it's sort of like, I don't even know, a high-pitched version, like
Mm,
a squeaky little kiddie version of the main Ant-Man theme, which is, that's like clever and funny. But yeah, I also feel like they probably could have made that bit longer. Like, I felt like there was more juice that you could squeeze out of an idea like that.
yeah.
Like he gets the thing from her backpack and he's just about to leave, but then the class starts and he has to sit down,
Yeah.
and be one of the kids, and then you just get a couple of like child actors just giving him weird looks. That would be funny,
Mhm. That would be funny.
but alas. I did
It
like when
is.
he leaves the school and he's like, somebody didn't have their juice box or something. That was good.
Mhm.
Um,
And then he's like, "Wait, did you have one?" And I felt the same way. I was like, "Oh my god, wait, apple juice?"
mm,
I love apple juice. It should be illegal. It's so good. I can't buy it or else the whole thing's gone. I did have little kid dinner the other day. Fancy little kid dinner. We did chicken wings and macaroni and cheese and like the Martinelli's sparkling apple cider thing.
I have no idea what that last bit means, but good.
It's like,
It's okay from time to time to do
so
that sort of stuff.
yeah, exactly. Have you ever, okay, stick with me for
Oh
just
dear.
okay, like the box macaroni and cheese, right? Have you ever
Tangentially, yes.
have you
I
never
know
had
of
it?
them.
You never had like Kraft mac and cheese?
Nah,
Oh my god, it's
that's
so
not really a
good.
thing here.
Oh my god, I'm gonna have to send you some. It's so good.
No, it's okay. I'm good, thank you.
Oh, I also have to send you ranch. I always forget that you guys don't have ranch, which
No,
is
you
wild.
really don't. You really don't.
Why are you so upset about this?
I'm not upset.
Okay. So Kraft mac and cheese. Then you instead of putting cheese in between the two bread slices, you put the mac and cheese in between the two bread slices, and you
Wait,
make a
where
grilled
did the bread come from?
grilled mac and cheese. Instead of a grilled cheese, you make a grilled mac and cheese. You ever done that?
Yep.
You've done that before? Oh my god. That's so cool.
Yeah. We'll do it all the time.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. I'm glad. I'm glad you know what I mean.
Americans, you know.
I don't think that's an American thing. I think that's just a me thing.
Guilty by association, you know.
Yeah,
That's
that's
just what it
fair.
has to be.
That's fair. I should also send pickled bologna.
Just you got to know when to stop.
You must feel safe knowing that I don't know your address and I can't actually send these things.
You do not know how grateful I am.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. One day, I'll just bring it with me if I ever go to the UK. Make a list. Write that down. Write that down. Okay. I don't really have anything else. I do. I just want to. I do want to have a discussion about like the through line implications, but on the actual film as a whole by itself, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
I mean, worth setting, just painting the image of where the film ends, that Janet
Mm-hmm.
is back safe out of the quantum realm. She
Mm-hmm.
stabilizes Ghost,
Mm-hmm.
and then uh, Scott is, his house arrest is over. He's free man, free little
Yep.
Ant Man.
Because he followed the rules very well.
He did. He never left his house once.
I mean, oh, that's where I know Randall Park. Sorry. To be fair, he did follow the rules for like 2 years and just like shorted it by a couple days. So like he did
Yeah,
follow the rules. Like he,
he
besides the
did.
last couple days.
Yeah.
For anybody that was wondering, I know him from being Asian Jim Halpert in the office.
Yes.
It was driving me crazy. I was like, where is he from? That's what it was.
Hmm.
And I know Lawrence Fishburne from CSI mostly, although he
You
was in The
called it. Yeah,
Matrix.
he was
And I've
Morpheus.
only seen the first Matrix and I didn't like it. So
It's okay to be wrong.
you are wrong. It's fine.
Touche.
Listen, okay, after all of that hype, everybody being like, The Matrix is so good, Brianna, you don't understand. And then, like, finally watched it at like 16 or something like that. And I was like, that's what all this hype was about. And
It's
also, can we talk about how everybody talks about the one move where he like wheels his arms back and he like leans way far back? Everybody's so excited about that. Nobody talks about the throat punch. That's what I talk about every time is the
yeah. No, that's a good one as well.
I was literally cry laughing when I saw that because I like couldn't handle myself. I like it was the funniest thing in the world because like why not just throat punch somebody? Like why are you chopping?
Questions that need answers.
It's so stupid. If I ever need to punch somebody in the throat, that's what I'm gonna do. So watch out. Be like, I just pulled a move from the Matrix.
I'm not sure you need to contextualize that in a real world environment, but
I would.
that'd just be
I
rubbing
prob-
salt in the wound.
I probably would. I would probably yell something like, "That's from the Matrix" or something like that. I apologize. Clearly, I'm not that interested in this film. I keep getting distracted.
It's fine.
Okay, so through line stuff. Okay, so I want a couple things I want to like kind of point out before I let you kind of take over and do your thing. Um, from my observations, not that I'm right or wrong, just like talking out loud. So one Stanley moment, um, his car gets shrunk that he was about to get in, just to point that out. I was like, for the longest time, I was like, did I miss him? But it's because he's like so close to the end of the film and he's usually towards the beginning. So I was worried that I'd missed the moment.
Good
But I did.
one-liner there from him.
What I didn't get it, to be honest.
I can't. It's not verbatim, but it's something along the lines of, "That's what I get for going so hard in the '60s" or something. You know,
Yeah.
because his car got shrunk, so he's like the ramifications of constantly taking drugs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Do you think he was
I can tell it
drugs in
left
the
a lasting
60s?
impression on you.
Clearly. uh, clearly. Okay. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was ghosts' powers and the way that those manifest in the way that I guess like the animation manifest. I don't know if I'm reading into this too much, but obviously her powers are like quantum powers in some form or another. And her powers, the way that it kind of looks is that sometimes it's you're seeing where she's going ahead of time, and sometimes you're just seeing different movements, almost as if it's like the alternate like universes of like the different paths that she could take, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because they say in the film that it's molecular disequilibrium or something.
Mm-hmm.
So like all of her molecules are unstable, but if you take that literally, it still doesn't quite explain why you're seeing like echoes of her doing different
Mm-hmm.
things in slightly different directions or whatever. So I would imagine so that because it's like the quantum realm, quantum probability and all of that stuff. I think that is the most likely answer. I think it's kind of like left purposely ambiguous as to keep an air of mystery around exactly what the quantum realm is and what it can do. Like what can Janet actually do? Like she put her
Nothing really.
fingers there and gave Ava some of her energy, but like
Honestly, it's vibes. Good vibes.
that might be what it is. Yeah.
This is what all of those girlies that are into like the oils and stuff, this is what they're going for.
Mm, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the reason why that kind of stood out to me is because from what I suspect is that in order to resolve the issues with what is going on in the overall world at large, we will need some sort of like alternate timeline. However, we know the time stone is with Thanos. So if he has the time stone, then we know that like we don't have the power to manipulate time in that way, which is the way that we're familiar with. So we need something else to manipulate time and or space and or something, and so it feels like maybe that the quantum stuff is maybe the answer.
I see.
Or at least not the whole answer, but a part of the answer.
Yeah, like you get the sense that the quantum realm is important in some sense.
Yes. The
Yeah.
other thing that kind of makes it feel important ish is at the end of the film, like the mid-credit scene, I think it is. We see Scott end up stuck in the quantum realm.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting is he's made it out by himself before, and I know it was partially because like his daughter was there, and it was like kind of like an emergency situation and like extenuating circumstances, so he may not be able to make it out by himself. But I'm also curious if maybe he can just make it out by himself again. I don't actually know.
Yeah.
And then of course we see like which I'm glad that they touched on. I was waiting for that moment where I was like, okay, how does this line up in the timeline with like all of the Infinity War stuff?
Yeah.
And apparently Ant-Man was just doing heists and stuff while the world was ending.
Mm-hmm.
And had no idea.
Yeah.
I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't do any kind of news coverage. Like it would have been so easy to like play like a news story on like a radio, or a news story like cut to the family, and on the TV there's like news about what's going on, like with the
Yeah. I mean,
Avengers and stuff.
I guess there is probably, like, if we give the film the benefit of the doubt, there probably is a presumed like time jump from the end of the film to that post-credit scene where it is like fully concurrent with Infinity War.
Yeah,
But
perhaps.
I agree that even if that mid-credit started with them saying how a ship had been floating above New York and then disappeared, and that like Iron Man and a number of other people have gone missing,
Mm-hmm.
because they don't know where they went. That could have been nice. I still think like that scene accomplished what it needed to, like you
Yeah,
say, like
I would agree.
establishing timeline and showing that the stakes, at least within like Ant-Man's sphere of everything, has sort of
Yeah.
been raised. But yeah, no,
Do
I'm
you
with you.
do you think like if it's because the snap worked right across the entire universe?
Hmm.
So I would assume that includes the quantum realm, or is it supposed to be implied that because he's in the quantum realm, the snap didn't work on him, or it wouldn't have worked anyways if he was in the real world, and it has no ramifications whatsoever?
I don't think it would have made a difference.
Okay.
I mean, there's not really technically any clarification to suggest that the snap is exclusive to a given plane or realm of existence as opposed to all of them. Because then you get like, what about the multiverse? How does it echo through all of the different multiverses and wipe half of the people out? I don't know. We don't really ever get an answer on that. But I've always assumed that him being in the quantum realm has nothing to do with him surviving. It's just that
Okay.
he happened to
Fair
be
enough.
part of the 50% that lived, which is obviously unfortunate because now he's stuck
Mm-hmm.
for now,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe forever.
And is he a princess that's gonna save himself, or is he a princess that needs to be saved?
Maybe it's Anthony 3.0, you know?
Rest in peace to Anthony.
Maybe one will finally make it through the whole film and save him in the nick of time.
That would be nice. Stop
Yeah.
killing the ants. Thank you.
No.
Okay. I think those are like the main pieces that I kind of wanted to touch on for the through line pieces that I picked up.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that I missed?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's weird that like, I think this film would have been much better, even just as it is, if it came out basically right after Civil War. But the fact that it is coming immediately off of the heels of Infinity War,
Yeah, there should have only been like one in between.
or even none, because I feel like Infinity War puts the pedal to the metal so hard and it ramps things up, and it's like raising tension and stakes and everything, and you get the cliffhanger ending of Infinity War, and I feel like it just takes an immediate nosedive in terms of the level of stakes, the scope of
So
the
you're
story,
saying
and
Captain
everything.
Marvel is terrible as well?
I'm only talking specifically about this film, that it
Uh-huh.
immediately follows Infinity War. I think it's just a weird choice because outside of that post-credit scene, this film could have happened at any point.
Mm-hmm. And that post-credit scene could have easily happened as a post-credit to Infinity War, or
Yeah,
like even just part of that like piece where it was moving from people to like group to group to show what
yeah.
happens. Like could have been
So
anywhere.
it's odd to me that they, and obviously there's so much like behind the scenes stuff that we would never know as to why this film either had to come out or ended up coming out at the time that it did. But it's weird that for a film that at least begins so intrinsically linked to Civil War and actually stays it, it's more of a sequel to Civil War than it is Infinity War,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I think it feels so out of place, because it's coming out essentially as a sequel to Infinity War. And the only relevant thing to Infinity War is the post credit. So I still don't think if this film came out immediately after Civil War, it would have been great by any means. But I think sentiment on it would be a bit more, a bit less harsh
Yeah,
than
I
it
mean,
is.
Marvel feels like they're kind of hitting their stride with like the films that we've seen, like the past couple films, and then this just
Mm-hmm.
kind of like takes like a nosedive,
Yeah,
like you said. So awkward.
yeah, and like not that to get into it too much, but I think there is a sentiment, particularly as of late, where some areas of the fandom are suggesting that like, does everybody really need a trilogy of films?
Yeah.
Like, does Ant-Man need a trilogy really?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying like I necessarily align with that, but I think that having films like this that are linked to be fair, a less popular character, and not only is it linked to a less popular character, it also doesn't deliver,
Mm-hmm.
and it's coming off of the heels of the biggest film thus far,
Mm-hmm.
both in terms of like scope, but also fan reception.
Yep.
It was destined to fail, I think, which is unfortunate because everybody in the film is trying the best with what they have. Like, I don't think there's a weak performance in here. It's like more Ant-Man, but diluted Ant-Man, which
Yeah.
is again as milquetoast as you can get. And I think that the cardinal sin for these films is to be forgettable,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not. There's at no point are they, well, outside of a couple of examples, they aren't doing like crazy sophisticated storytelling,
Yeah. I think give
or
me like 2 weeks and I'll have forgotten everything in this film.
yeah, which is unfortunate, and it's not how you want it to be for anything. Um, this film certainly didn't do Ant-Man as an IP any favors, which is again unfortunate because I actually think that Ant-Man conceptually is arguably one of the most interesting and has the most potential.
Mm.
It's just that they, for some reason or another, can't manage or don't seem interested in fully going with the strengths of Ant-Man, which is the family oriented stuff, and doing lots of stuff with changing size.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for a film that is called Ant-Man, there is surprisingly little interesting stuff being done with the shrinking and or growing
Mm-hmm.
outside of set PC moments, which isn't how it should be, I don't think.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Ant-Man could beat Godzilla?
Yes.
You think?
Yes. And do you want to know why?
Why?
It's the same reason that people say that Ant-Man technically should be able to solo Thanos. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd be surprised if you hadn't like tangentially heard of this, because it's been like a big meme for quite a few years. But does the butt Jesus Christ, the butt
Hypothesis?
hypothesis mean anything to you?
No, but I can kind of extrapolate.
Yeah. So people are like, well, surely Ant-Man can just shrink down and like maneuver his way inside a villain
Yeah.
and then just grow
Yeah, I
really
don't
big.
think you need to go up the butt. You could just go up like somebody's nose or something, but
Sure, but like
or in their ear.
that's a little bit more dangerous because like you have to, if you're going through the mouth, you have to get past like the teeth and stuff. You have a higher risk of being detected, I would
What
say,
about the
because you
ear
could
then?
no, because then people might like scratch and you could just get squashed or something, Whereas if you're coming up from behind, like as they're walking or something, and he's running along the floor tiny, and then crawls up the back of the leg, and then slips down and in, there's far less that you are capable of doing to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, but far more gross for the person climbing.
Sure, but hey, if we're talking life or death, saving a city or the world or something,
So you're saying that in order to beat Godzilla, Ant-Man would just climb up his butt.
yeah. And then you have multiple options. You can either stay small and like attack his internal organs, or obviously Godzilla, you would have to be quite big for the second option, but you could just expand yourself, go
Well, that's kind
giant.
of what I was looking for, is if he was, because he's like, he gets so tired so quickly, it feels like he couldn't really wrestle with Godzilla that long.
Okay, but put it this way, I would pay to watch a film where Ant-Man does that, goes giant, but doesn't manage to explode out, so ends up just wearing Godzilla like a suit.
Mm.
And then you
I'm
just see Paul Rudd's face sticking out of Godzilla's mouth. That'd be funny. I'd pay to see that.
okay. So there's this service where you can pay for people to animate stuff for you.
Don't tempt me.
Do it. We'll use it as our ending song.
The little jingle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We'll do it. All right. Thanks for answering my question. It was very
That's right.
important.
That's right.
Okay, ranking.
Yeah.
Uh any guesses ish where this lands? We're now at 20 films. This is the 20th.
It is. I would. Well, I haven't got your list in front of me, but I would say
You don't know.
it's gonna be. I would be surprised if it's above like 13.
Mm. Okay. So I put it at 18
Okay.
out of 20. So it's just above Thor Dark World. Want to say it is night and day different, way better than Dark World,
Yes.
but something has to be above Dark World.
Uh-huh. And what's above it?
Captain America the First Avenger.
Okay. Okay. Interestingly, I'd already assigned it in my list. I've put it at 17.
Okay, so
So
Iron Man
17,
above Iron Man 2?
17 for me is just above Iron Man 2 and just below Captain America First Avenger.
All right. Iron Man 2 is definitely the better film, but what can you do?
Hey, if there was more Sam Rockwell in Iron Man 2, I'd agree. But there isn't. Where is my bird? I want my bird. I've got whips. I'm just another version of the big metal man from the first film.
On that note, thanks for hanging out with us today. Special shout out to our current patrons. We have Alpaca Tom, Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Brianna's wife, Nikolai at Night, Cypher Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, Mimi J, David Hotwright, Dave Harp, the Xbox Expansion Pass, and Lee Navarro. Where can people find you?
Anywhere and everywhere at Sam Heaney, Heaney.
You can also find him on our YouTube channel reviewing Kraft mac and cheese.
No.
And ranch.
You are setting yourself up for disappointment if you ever expect that content. I will not do it.
Why?
I will not do it.
You're really adamant about this, and I don't understand, but that's okay. You can find me at Fabulous Brianna, FABULISTBREANNA. You can find us at Save the Game Media or Save Game Media on Twitter. Rest in peace, Twitter. And I'll let you guys go. We'll see you in another 2 weeks with Captain Marvel.
Yes.
Bye.
See.